Hello and welcome into episode 2 of the NHL Roundup podcast. I'm Shane Stanley, joined by John Hepso and Max Hunt.
Hello.
Hey.
So we're done the first round now, guys, and it's a pretty wild one. 5 Game 7s.
Second most all time?
Second most all time. I did look that up after, too. It was 1992 had 6
Holy
in the first round. Yeah, it was called like the conference semifinals back then. Yeah, so 1992. So it was wild. Yeah.
Wow.
So 5 Game 7s. So overall, pretty wild first round. Like, not getting too much into the games. What was one of your biggest takeaways from?
In any series in particular, or
Just a broad, like,
So-
I'll start then just to kind of give us a taste of it. Like,
Okay.
I found there was more blowouts than what
There
I've
were
seen
a
in
lot
recent
of
years. Like,
blowouts,
there
yeah.
was so many, like, 7-2 games.
yeah,
5-2 games with, like, 2 empty netters. Like, games that were close that didn't look close, but, like, 6-0, a couple times.
Yeah,
like,
the Leafs
the
series
whole
was
Colorado
brutal for that.
series was crazy. Like looking in depth to those games, like, they were close, but then they ended up being, like, crazy blowouts.
there was
It's
one close game, 2-1.
They had one,
Yeah.
Kale
and then-
McCarr had 10 shots on goal and
Yeah.
goal and
Yeah.
assist.
So-
Ingram had like 49 saves, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, so it was pretty wild first round overall.
Yeah, one thing, like, I haven't paid much attention to hockey over the years, but I base a lot of my takes on experience. Thus, my picks. I pick Boston, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But experience seemed to be able to make up for a lack of talent to get most of those teams to Game 7.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the young, super talented teams kind of overcame that. When you look at Calgary, even Edmonton taking on LA,
Mm-hmm.
then you got, of course, Carolina over Boston and
Yeah.
New York over Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bit of randomness to it, of course, but it seemed like experience could only get you so far in this one.
Yeah, like, I found that, like, with those teams, like the Pittsburghs and the Bostons, I did pick against them, so I did pick the right team, but it was certainly more, like, I think I had, like, Carolina in 5, for example. Like, it was definitely more of a struggle than what I thought it was going to
Yeah.
be. So, I mean, credit to, like, the Pittsburgh, did they blow it up now?
Mm-hmm.
Toronto, did they blow it up
Well,
now?
you got
Like, we'll
Letang
get
and
into
Malkin.
that later.
You got Letang and Malkin unrestricted.
Boston,
Like, how much
too,
money
like-
are they gonna want? Like,
They're all almost in the same boat, really, a lot of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess we could just get into our recap of each series and kind of say what we picked to begin the series and what the ultimate result was.
Yeah, so we'll start with the West. I think we did the preview starting with the West, and so we'll start with Calgary and Dallas. Going back, I had Calgary over Dallas in 7 games, so I had this right on. I didn't even know I had that. Just going back and looking at it, so this was a strange series. Like we were talking before we came on, and it seemed like the shot totals were either really low and it was a really laid back game, or they were crazy high, and both goalies really came to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Well, it
yeah.
seemed like Calgary had at least 40 shots in every single game.
Yeah, that's what they average every game. It was
Well,
like 40.7 or something.
Yeah.
I think it was
crazy.
halfway through the first round. I was talking to John about a game, and I said Washington was in overtime last night, and they had 16 shots.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Calgary
it
was halfway through the second period, and they had 30.
Mm.
And,
Crazy.
and the score was 0-0.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. So
I find in the playoffs, like, there's a lot of opportunistic teams that you'll see with low amount of shots,
Yeah.
but they will get the goals.
Those
on
are the
quality
experienced
chances.
teams.
Yeah, like Dallas, Washington,
Kings.
Well, I would say Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh, they fire pucks on net, but
Yeah,
they get
they
quality chances.
yeah, so it was a very, probably the most defensive series I think we've seen, because again with a lot of the
Mhm.
I don't
Every game
believe
was tight, yeah.
there was any blowouts in this one.
There
This was
wasn't, no.
a series that really
all
avoided
one.
that. I think there was maybe one 5-2 game, and again it was an empty net or
There was
something.
was Game 6 4-2 for Dallas.
And that is not
Still
a wide.
close.
That was
Probably an empty
they
netter.
had an empty netter in that
Yeah,
one too.
there you go.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking at it, I think the goalies were really the standouts in this series. Like Max, I know you mentioned in our group that you thought Ottinger could potentially win a Vezina one day.
Yeah, I really
Based
think
off
he
his
will.
play.
He had a shutout, 954 save percentage, 1.82 goals against average. He had 272 saves in the series.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is insane.
That is crazy.
And not taking anything away from Markstrom, because he had a 928 save percentage as well.
Yeah, he never had the opportunity to stand out.
no,
he didn't.
You know, because there was no shots on goal from
Yeah,
Dallas
but whatever
whatsoever.
he faced, he just
like
shut it
I
down.
found like the word I like to use for him was sharp, just because like he never faced a crazy amount of shots, but he would face like 28 and stop 27.
Yeah, he made a massive save in overtime on a breakaway
He did,
shot
yeah.
with the blocker.
That blocker
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Oh my god, saved the game from really.
He did, yeah.
It's really less by the Calgary defense, but
And
ultimately you got a great backstopper there.
Yeah, and was it on that shift when they went back up in the O-zone, they draw a penalty and then Gaudreau finished on there?
Finish it off,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Dallas really ran into the problem that they've had in past years where they just didn't really have the goal scoring. Again, going back, Markstrom did play well, but it was like, I think Pavelski was probably the person who stood out the most for them.
He did, yeah.
He had a couple games, I believe they were down 2-1 one time, and he tied it and then took the lead 3-2.
Yeah.
I believe it might have been game 3. But yeah, he was pretty good. Didn't see much out of Robertson, that young kid. Like, was he hurt?
Ruby-
I almost
Ruby
don't
Hintz,
remember.
Ruby
him.
Hintz didn't do much either.
I don't
he was
even remember
scratching game
seeing a
7
lot
as
of
well.
him.
He was hurt. Yeah,
Okay,
I think
yeah.
he was trying to battle an injury, but he just kind of kept it quiet. But
Like every hockey player ever.
yeah.
Classic. I hate hockey. Sorry to get off topic here, but I hate hockey for undisclosed injuries.
Mhm.
Like Crosby, it's like, oh, it's upper body. It's like you were saying.
Yeah,
Is it his-
we talked about that.
Is it his finger or his neck?
It's so vague, yeah.
Yeah, it's
like
wild.
like
Yeah.
we were mentioning, like in football, like they'll tell you the body part at least. They won't tell you the extent of it. Like they'll say knee. You don't know if it's an ACL or a bone bruise or
the other ligaments.
whatever,
Or
like
just
a
a
sprain. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it really could be any level, but they'll at least give you that, right?
Mhm.
Hockey's just like, well, it's one of two halves of his
Yeah.
body.
Yeah,
Like,
they
that's-
may mention a body part, but
Maybe,
usually it's
yeah.
just LBI or UBI.
Yeah. In this series, I picked Calgary in 6.
Yeah, I did as well.
1 game off.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
I just didn't expect much out of Dallas.
that's
totally.
that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean,
They
you
made
know,
it a tight series, even though they had a few injuries
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to the next one. Edmonton and LA. This was like a barn burner series for me.
It was, yeah.
You know, some games were close and down to the wire, like Game 7 went the distance. McDavid kind of put LA out of their misery with that crazy shift he had, just dominating everybody on the ice, and just somehow gets open in front, quick as swimming, backhands it over top corner, finishes them off.
Yeah, just circling back to the blowouts, like Edmonton had 2 games early in the series, 6-0 and 8-2.
Yeah,
Back-to-back
That's
games,
brutal, yeah.
right? Imagine buying tickets to see your team play at home. They lose 8-2.
Oh my!
Like,
God.
that sucks.
Yeah.
And I think it might have been 6-0 in that one, too, and then they, like, gave up 2 and got 2 themselves after, but
Yeah.
brutal, yeah. Like, I got to give props to Evander Kane, even though he's probably the one reason I don't want them to go too far.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to see him succeed, but he's played well, so I'll give him credit where it's due. I don't know what he has, 6 or 7 goals so far. Really solid. Edmonton's D scored a lot of goals
They have.
throughout.
I can't believe
Pretty-
it. Cody
pretty
Ceci,
consistent.
Yeah.
game-winning goal.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm surprised
In
he didn't
game
miss the
7.
net by 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, McDavid also had 14 points in 7 games. And he was the reason they won that series in that Game 7.
Yeah, he was like, I think he had 6 games with multi-point efforts, so
Yeah.
First player ever, I think.
pretty,
or one of 2.
pretty good. Yeah, that's. I mean, you can't ask. You know, obviously, you want your superstars to show up in big games, and they did. I thought too it was inconsistent because the scores were going back and forth in terms of like blowouts or whatnot. But whatever goalie won, played well.
Yeah.
I found, and there was no like 2-1 where the goalie stole the game. Like it was like I said 6-0 for Edmonton, or 8-2, and then Game 4 was 4-0 for the Kings. So Quick was playing well. So like they lost 8-2 and they gave up nothing.
Yeah.
The next game. So it was inconsistent play from both, but then going back to that Game 7, Mike Smith, like I said, credit where it's due. Most common name ever. could be 45 Mike Smiths in Edmonton, but they chose the right one that night. So.
Now, Johnny Quick played wicked in Game 7.
Yeah,
He played
did.
amazing.
He
almost
stood
every
on
game.
his head.
That was only a 2-0 game,
Yeah.
and McDavid put the dagger in with about 4 minutes left. So it was 1-0 for a big portion of that game.
I took Edmonton in 5 in this. I gave
I did as
LA no credit
Yeah.
whatsoever.
And that's going back to the experience thing too, because they've won 2 cups in the past 10 years. So like I know a big portion of the team is there, but the core was really there.
Yeah.
With Brown and Kopitar.
They're a bit younger too.
It's too bad they
Yeah.
didn't have Doughty as well, and
Yeah.
of course Quick. So I mean, you know, they had pieces there for sure that was there in those 2 years, 2012 and 2014. So props to them for making it exciting, I guess. But it sets up battle of Alberta now for.
Yeah,
that's
gonna
I
be
think a lot of people want to
insane
see that,
series,
especially
yeah.
after Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
They were the last 2 Canadian teams, so at least one of them is going to be in the Final Four, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's right. So let's get on to probably the least entertaining series. If you're just a casual hockey fan, Colorado absolutely destroys Nashville. God, that wasn't even fun to watch.
Yeah.
No.
You know the Stoppy's had enough meme?
No.
No? You never seen that on
No, I don't believe so.
The Simpsons?
No.
I believe it's Homer, like, you know how he strangles Bart all the time?
Yeah.
He's just like, stop, he's already dead.
Yeah,
That's the only notes I have
When
in
you
this matchup, yeah.
when you said Simpsons, the one I pictured was that kid on the bus and it's just like, we're in danger.
Yeah,
that one applies too.
Yeah.
Well,
just a Pred symbol on the side.
Yeah.
15 minutes into game one, it was 5-0 Colorado, and that just
Yeah.
pretty much dictated the pace.
Crazy.
Well, as John said, game two was close. It was 2-1, I think.
2-1
was the final of that game. So like it was, I don't know, like did they? Because Ingram, like, did a goalie get hurt or something?
Saros was injured. He was supposed to come back game 1 or 2, but he ended up missing the whole series. And Dave Riddich, he played first 2 games and just couldn't hold any.
That's what it was, because I was thinking, like, that was another theme in the first round. A lot of teams went to their third goaltender.
They did,
and some had success like that, and this is one case of it where they just throw in this random guy, and he's like, yeah, okay, I'm playing really well, you know? So it was pretty interesting to see him go in. 51 shots he faced. He had 49 saves, missed 2, including the OT winner. Just a phenomenal effort, really, for a guy who you wouldn't expect.
He did what he could.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're a one-man show at that point. Like,
yeah. To me, none of the Nashville Predators' big stars showed up at all.
They
Matt Duchene, Philip Forsberg, Roman Josi.
Duchene did okay. I had in my notes here, Duchene is trying his best. Just because they could only do so much.
Yeah.
But I mean, they really, like, it was competitive at times. Like, the last couple games, it was 3-3 in the second period in both. And then Colorado would still go on to win those games, like 7-3, like just crazy. You know, like, even close games are just like, no, we're just going to take over.
When you were talking about the St. Louis series last year with Colorado, how did that go?
It was very similar to this, actually. It was competitive, but it was ugly at the same time. Okay. I never in one moment felt that they were really going to win a game. There was, like, times that I was watching where at the end of the first period it was 1-1, and I felt great. Yeah. Because I knew, okay, they're not losing. Yeah. Like, the best you could hope for was tie.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs, that don't do you no good.
No,
like, like, in the regular season, you're like, you know what? Against this team, get me to overtime. I'll take a point.
Yes.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Playoffs, you got to beat them, right? And, I mean, that's the unfortunate thing. It's, like, the best. Like, I would feel great about a tie. And, you know, shitty you bring that up because, you know, we'll get to our preview and, you know, stuck in the same boat. But this team is just, like, I mean, in terms of, like, betting favorites now, I mean, they got to be far and away. I mean, I know there's still some big teams in it over on the east side as well, but you know, I mean, just a crazy effort from them.
Yeah,
and they are battle tested in the sense that it was a couple close games, but then they came out on top. So, you know, it's not like because there's something to that too when a team just rolls everybody that they're not really prepared, and of course they did this last year and lost in the second round, like we said too. So I guess we'll see what we get from them. Like a lot of rest too.
Yeah, I just think they've got so much firepower. It's not even funny. Like, we'll get to the preview later. Yeah, I'll continue that after. But before that, we move on to Minnesota and St. Louis. Shane, I'm sure you enjoyed this series.
Yeah, it was. Man, there was a while there I was nervous after Game 3 because it was just 2 pretty bad games out of St. Louis, and then they really took over. It was similar to when they played Boston in the finals a few years back. They were down 2-1, and their back was against the wall. I think they got blown out 8-3 or something in like Game 3. Like, it was not looking good. And then they came out with a strong effort in Game 4. I think it was a 4-2 win, which I believe was the score this time, or 5-2. And I thought the games almost mirrored each other almost exactly, and it really set the boys off the same way in that series too. And it really put them, being the road team too, that after that game they had momentum. It was 2-2. They had to go on the road, win one game, and then you're set up with a chance to win at home. I mean, you know, coming home to Game 6 with a chance to win, I mean, you really can't hope for much more than that. Plus, they had already won 2 road games, so I felt pretty good overall after Game 4.
Was it in Game 4 that they started bidding them?
Yeah, it was.
Okay,
it was. Yeah. So it was after Game 3 that they turned Husso which again with the inconsistent goalies, like he had a shutout in the first game.
But Bennington looks great now.
It's like we mentioned a stat he had. He was like 0-9 or something. Which I looked into that after. How the hell can he be 0-9?
Yeah.
In 2 years, it was the bubble, right? Because they played three.
Playing.
I don't know what they call it. I wasn't playing. I can't remember how to word it.
It was playing, yeah.
Because it wasn't a best of 5 series because they were in the top 4. So like the top 4 played the other top 3, and they lost all 3 of those games.
Okay.
And they were considered exhibition games to find out the seeding, but they weren't. They listed them as playoff games.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So
that's
I don't know.
weird.
It is weird because I understand I believe Toronto played Columbus, right? Like that was the best of 5 series or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like that was to me that was playoffs. But then they played. It was I think it was Colorado, Dallas, and somebody else. Anyways, they played those 3 teams and they lost all 3 and ended up being the 4 seed. And then they, I think.
So that was just for standings then, basically.
Really, it was. Yeah. So he lost 2 of them, and then I think him and Jake Allen they had a switch too in the first round series once it got to 7 games. So all in all, he ended up playing 5 games, and he lost the 5 he played, and then last year with the sweep. So it was 0-9 in the last 2 years. But I mean, he looks back to form from the 2019 year, and that was a lot of people said flash in the pan and all after that season because he 2020, like I said, it wasn't the best. But he looks in good form, so that's definitely a positive because that was probably one of the bigger question marks I think for them.
Yeah.
Pretty balanced offense, so
St. Louis,
see the goaltending.
They impressed me, man, defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like
me too.
They had injuries too. Like they lost 4 or 5 demons. They were coming in and out. Krug's still out for now. I'm not sure what the extent of it is. Again, it was super vague. It was just he'll be out for some time.
Yeah.
That was all we were told.
But the big adjustment for me for St. Louis was Kaprizov is the guy driving the offense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be bringing the puck in over the blue line to set it up in the zone. St. Louis just decided we're letting everyone else beat us. Kaprizov's getting doubled every single time he comes in over the line. You see 2 guys, a defenseman and a winger, just crashing on Kaprizov. He couldn't hold on to the puck. It was phenomenal adjustment, and Minnesota couldn't do anything to change it.
He's their line driver whenever he's on the ice. He's their goal.
Power play, everything.
Yeah, power play as well.
Yeah. Well, it was special teams, I think, that really played a big factor in it, too. Yeah. St. Louis was top 5 penalty kill during the season, and their power play was pretty close, too. I think it may have been top 10. And I think Minnesota was 2 for 20 or something along those lines on the power play. So, it was pretty much Kaprizov or bust at that point. Mm-hmm. So they played the special teams game. Again, that doesn't make me feel good for the next round. Yeah. That's pretty much what drove them. Their power play was solid. I think they had probably 6 or 7 power play goals themselves, and like I said, only gave up 2. So I mean, you're winning that battle. It's pretty hard. You get momentum off your penalty kill sometimes. It was definitely good to see. And as John said, they really took away their top scorer, and then their depth. The games that they won, their depth played well. Mm-hmm. But again, it just wasn't enough to keep up when their stars can only do so much.
Yeah. I really thought Fleury was going to make a bigger impact on the series.
Yeah, they also switched goalies at the last game. Yeah. Well, I think I seen a stat too that there was only 6 teams who only used 1 goalie or something.
Yeah.
Jesus.
The Lightning, Florida, Washington. Never they went to Samsonov, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Toronto, I guess.
No, Toronto used Shalgren for that 1 game, right?
Campbell got
pulled him.
Yeah,
he was in the game, but
well, yes, but that's what they meant. Even pulling quick got pulled, and, right? So there was only, and it may have been less. That was in the middle of the first round, maybe less now. But yeah, that was interesting to see. Again, going back to how we said in our preview too, when we were looking at all the award ceremonies, goalie, you would have your one guy who played 75. Mm-hmm. You'd never see that back in the day, switching. If your goalie got pulled and had a bad night, you'd take him out. All right, bad night, shake it off, go back in the next. This one, you could really do it and change the whole momentum of the series. So it's interesting to see some teams try to do that.
Yeah. So that kind of sums up our recap on the West. Let's move into the East here with Florida and Washington. I took Florida in 5 because I just didn't think Washington had the horses, but they did make a pretty competitive series out of it, especially in that final game.
The late push they had in the final minute there in the power play.
Yeah, that was an impressive sequence. I think it was Mantha in front of the net. He used the shaft of his stick between his hands to bat the puck to his blade, and then batted it out of the air. Hit the crossbar, came down, and I think Oshie got credit for the goal, but
he did. Yeah,
it looked like he hit Ekblad on that play.
Yeah, it looked to me like Ekblad put it in. So I would have gave it to Mantha just to verify that sick move, but yeah, ultimately it fell short.
I also had Florida in 6 here, so I nailed this one as well.
Yeah, I have Florida in 6 as well.
Yeah. So my biggest takeaway for Haggy, man.
Jeez, 12 points.
He had a phenomenal series.
Yeah.
Like,
you sent me something the other day. It was like most underrated playoff performers or something in history. And who was like top on the list?
I think Ruslan Fedotenko had like 14 points in their 24 games.
There you go. And now Verhaeghe, he
points.
has to be up there.
Another one that stands out to me was during Edmonton's run in 06, Pisani.
Pisani, he was on the list as well.
He had like 50 points or something that year, and he had like, I don't know, 12 or 13 goals, no matter however many assists he had. And
wicked.
Yeah, it's just like you get these guys who just come out and during the playoffs and they almost match their season total, on a team that makes a deep run. So it's just crazy to see.
Thing is, you get those lower line guys out against the other team's lower line, like your third liners are going against third liners.
Yeah.
And then maybe against the fourth line every now and again. So you get skilled players out there, you can really take advantage.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that's what Verhaeghe did.
Well, I mean, and that's why these teams like a Florida or Tampa Bay, like who haven't established, top 6 to 8 players who are really, really, world class players, and then they go out and they get Nick Paul or I know Claude Giroux's better and a higher caliber player, but that's why you plug in those guys and you really hope. And he had a few key goals too. You go out and get these extra guys because you're going to need that, right? Yeah. So you can't base it off a strong power play or one line really that's going to get you there. So especially if you want to make it deep.
Yeah, playoff hockey is 4-line hockey. You got to have at least 3 star-powered offensive lines. Yeah. And if your fourth line is a shutdown line, that's good enough at times, but wouldn't hurt to have some offense on that line as well.
Yeah. I love Calgary's. I know we're already past that, but the Lucic line.
Yeah, that's a great line. They were unreal last night.
They were great last night.
Yeah.
Every time they touched the puck,
they were in there.
It was just dominating in zone.
Yeah, even sometimes just having offensive pressure. Like I'll use St. Louis just because I watched them mostly. Like they played a cycle game a lot, so they kind of use their fourth line as like a wear you down playoff style offense. And they do that all year long. It's not just now. That's just their system.
Yeah.
But it is a playoff style where they're just use that fourth line, and it's to the point now where they're playing with 7D. So they're just putting the biggest guys they got. They don't even care if they're forward. Just go in there, just grind people down, getting as many bodies. So that has to do with the injuries too. But that's just what something in Lucic obviously is a that style player as well.
What I've noticed in a lot of these games is like when you're dominating the offensive pressure with your fourth line, it really wears down the other team. And they're forced to ice the puck a lot of times.
Yeah, and then
they're
exhausted, right?
Then you get your first line out.
They can't change,
and it's almost like a power play.
And another thing too, if you got home ice, your crowd's going. That is, it's like a 6-man on the ice.
Yeah,
it's practically what it is.
Yeah. So this series we didn't touch on too much of the game by game, but again, Washington another team that switched goalies.
Samsonov was huge when he did come in though.
Yeah, he played well. Like They had kind of a question mark as to who they were going to go with anyways. It was almost a 50-50 split they had. I mean, Ovi played well, Kuznetsov played well. I mean, Washington really gave them a fight. There was a point where I thought they were largely ahead. I think that, like, the thing with Washington is they blew a lot of leads, too.
They did.
Game 5, I believe it was, they were up 3-0.
And no lead felt
Florida, 5 unanswered. Just crazy. I mean, it's pretty rough to be up 3-0 and then lose that. They had to battle back there in Game 6 and then overtime. Verhaeghe got both overtime winners against them.
Wicked.
You can't ask for much better.
He had 5 points in that game, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. So he's not only scoring, but from a point wise, I mean, he's what is he like?
12 points in 6 games.
12 points, yeah.
6 and 6.
2 points per game. That's phenomenal.
Wicked.
It's unreal as a third liner.
So you guys had Florida in 6.
Yeah.
I had Florida in 5.
Yeah, we'll recap after. I think we went through a couple series and didn't touch on what we had, so we'll just when we're done, we'll go back and say what we had.
Let's go to Tampa and Toronto. I had Tampa in 6 in this. ultimately just that the experience for Tampa was too much for the Leafs to handle. And that wasn't the case. Wasn't the case at all.
Series, very tight.
It was
well, they had a few
there was
blowout
games where
the last
Tampa
3 games,
absolutely
yeah.
dominated and Toronto absolutely dominated, and it was just total inconsistency on both sides.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It made no sense to me whatsoever.
I think like as the series went on, it got closer.
It got tighter. The
Yeah.
last 3 games
I think
were
like
1-goal
those last
games.
3 because I think Toronto won game 1 5-0, and I can't remember what the score of game 2. I think it was 5-1. I think for Tampa.
5-1 for Tampa.
Yeah, so I mean, it was like you really got those stinkers off, off early, and then after that, it was pretty solid through. I know, Tampa had a pretty greasy lead in game 4 as well.
4,
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. That was that was one that Max was like a little bit worried about. He's like, "No, they're losing tonight."
Yeah.
And John's like, "No, we'll see." And then it was like 5-10. It was like 3-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, all right,
Yeah.
it's
yeah,
over.
game. What was it? Game 5. They were down 2-0. Storm back though.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that was a big momentum shift for them. Well, so we thought.
That was in Toronto.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you could see, like, the crowd was going absolutely insane. And there was a couple calls where it was like an iffy call going on, and the ref didn't have his hands up, and the crowd erupts, goes crazy, and 4 seconds later, he's like, penalty! And it's like Toronto power play.
So,
It's
yeah,
how
like-
much the crowd affects the refs.
you could
and-
definitely swing them.
You know what I mean?
Well,
does.
that was interesting too because Tampa had a 2-0 lead in Game 5 and Game 6.
Yep.
And the Leafs did come back in
Toronto
both.
erased it both times. Now in Game 6 they had 3, 2 in the last minute of the 2nd period.
That was nuts.
That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. And at that point you're 1 period away. I know like the heartbreak
Yeah.
part of it.
Oh yeah.
Just the Toronto style to be that close. And
Yeah, it's just they do that every year. They basically look in the book. It's like, all right, what's the best way possible that we can rope in our fans to believe that we're going to win the series, and then just fold.
They find,
completely.
like I was saying when I was watching Game 7, they find a completely different way to do it.
It's new every year.
It's never
It
the
is,
same.
yeah.
It's never the same.
Yeah.
Right? It's either a big lead in the game or the series or a different series, losing it at home. Yeah, like it's always something new.
Yeah.
My buddy's a Leafs fan, and I was talking to him the other day at football about the Leafs, and he was like trying to say that the level of randomness in hockey is what's happening to the Leafs. I say it's not random if it happens 6 or 7 straight times
To the same team.
to the same team.
in the
Like,
same round.
it doesn't make any
like-
sense. There's more going on than just the randomness of hockey. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's
like,
something else.
Well,
going on.
even if they won, 4-2, like a conventional series, and then they move on to the second round, this kind of thing happens again. Like, okay, we've got something to build off.
Yeah.
got over the hump.
Yes, okay, yeah, we got that monkey off our back. We just faced a good team in the second round, like they would have played Florida or something. Like, there's no shame in that. There's no shame in losing to Tampa either. I mean, obviously, you say the Leafs curse and all this. Like, this is obviously a tough matchup for anybody.
It is, yeah.
So it just so happened that was the way the cookie crumbled with the matchup, and this is what they're stuck with, and just something else we mentioned a lot through the series was like Tampa hasn't lost back-to-back games since their run in 2020.
Crazy.
And what is it, 17 or
17 and 0.
17 and 0 now? I mean,
Yeah.
that's like, and that's kind of how this went. Like they played going into Game 7. They played 10 games this year, and they went back and forth, alternated wins the entire time.
They did, yeah.
No team won twice in a row until Tampa won in Game 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
And the crazy stat for me was Vasilevsky in his last 5 closeout games prior
this
to
one,
Game
yeah.
7, he didn't allow a single goal, and he only allowed 1 in this Game
So
7.
in 6 closeout opportunities,
Yeah.
he's given up 1 goal.
So the stat stayed true.
Yeah.
Like Vasilevsky is absolutely insane. in a
Wait, was that
closeout game.
series clinching or winner take all?
Series clinching
Okay,
games.
yeah.
So like, giving up 1 goal, this severely hurt his stats.
The
in those
stat.
games. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
But now I imagine his goals against is still like 9.9.
save percentage like
Yeah.
988 or
Yeah.
something like
Like
something insane.
something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now where does Toronto go here? Like, we won't get too much into the offseason stuff, but like Max, I'll shimmy to you here just to see what you think. Like, is there a move or two that you see that Toronto can make to, like, do they keep this team? I mean, they're right there. I mean, if that okay, we'll talk about the penalty in Game 7 and all that too. That game was tied if not for that. I mean, they score another goal in overtime or third, whenever. I mean, this is not this. It's just this curse. You can't blow up a team because of a curse. Like,
No.
Like, do you say we have a good team or
Like
Change the name, change the jersey.
yeah.
change
Like, I
the
feel like
scheme?
they can't blow it up, but like there's been a lot of posts being going around on a lot of Leafs pages that I follow on Instagram. Like there's one here. It says Campbell might not even return with the Leafs this season. They offered him a $2.75 million contract. Not sure of the term, but it was far below Campbell's expectations. So he's probably.
Which I agree.
Yeah, I
Listen,
think so too.
I don't know a whole lot
Like,
about goalie market, but I'll just say this: St. Louis again, going back because that's who I follow. Signed Bennington to 6 years, $6 million per.
Mm-hmm.
Dude was on the bench.
Yeah.
Going into this playoff, 6 years, $6 million. So 2.75. That don't sound fair at all to me.
No.
I mean, get 4.5, 5.
And the
okay,
fact they
now
were
we're probably
paying
talking.
the fact they were paying Mrazek what
3.8 for 3.
There you go.
It's crazy.
And he's not even close to the
No, he's
goaltender
not.
Campbell is.
No,
That's
no.
disgraceful.
So I don't. Yeah, I think. I think that's definitely fair to say. Yeah, that's their biggest free agent. I would say by far.
And there was another thing announced as well. Kyle Dubas is looking to make a Kawhi type trade, like the Raptors made. So I'm not sure what he's going to do
I
there.
feel like hockey's not the same sport. To bring in one player, like
It's not.
basketball changes your entire.
Like,
outlook.
No, but is he talking about from the San Antonio side or from the Toronto side? Because he's got the Kawhi Leonards on his team.
That's
He
interesting.
does,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
I think it would benefit him to do that.
I
more
think
so.
if he moves Tavares,
Yeah.
he's
That's
the youngest,
that's the
he's
piece
the
that
oldest
stands
of the
out.
group.
Yeah.
And he's on the second line consistently. It's like he's not even the top line center anymore.
I don't want to blame him, but I feel like if they're like, because he played well down the stretch too
Yes,
in
He
the
did,
series,
yeah, he
but
was
like.
unreal.
I feel like if there's one, because Matthews had a pretty good series, and I know kind of like Delaware, Matthews had a good series, but was not a whole lot of them in Game 7.
He showed up early.
Yeah.
Tavares didn't.
Yeah.
Tavares showed up late. Matthews did.
Can you get them at the same time? You know, and that's the shitty thing about it all. It's just like, and how much your stock you're putting into whatever 4 or 5 players, and now again like you have to overvalue the goaltender now to stay competitive, and then all of a sudden, bam, you don't have like your bottom 6 is trash, right?
Yeah.
Or you have to develop these young guys to come in and play on like really cheap deals who are coming up in your system, and I don't know, it's tough. I mean, it's not easy, and again, I personally I don't feel that way. You can go get one superstar player, and all of a sudden, okay, yeah, we're definitely going to conference finals now. Like basketball, you could do that. Football, you could probably do that. Like, it's definitely harder in hockey because like it's just like again, you go out like Florida went and got.
Claude Giroux.
Yeah, and then he comes in like you don't know if he's gonna work, right?
Yeah.
You don't know he's not gonna change your team, and nobody's trading huge superstars at the trade deadline. Like in the off season, you're definitely more likely to get someone that's a bigger fish. But like Toronto has big fish, as John said.
This is an interesting thing. So if Pittsburgh blows it up,
That might be the team to target.
Potential maybe Crosby is in the market.
What about Bergeron, Boston?
Bergeron's there.
Yeah, Bergeron.
Some
I think he's in
experience
talks of
can play.
retiring though. Yeah.
It'd be hard to see him leave Boston for Toronto.
Yeah.
And obviously it would be the ultimately like I don't think Crosby's leaving Pittsburgh.
No.
No, I don't think so either.
But if he agreed to it, well, Jesus.
There's
That
not a
would be
whole lot of
crazy.
better teams that you could go to. Like the thing is too, like he's a center. You know, I know that is Toronto does have a lot of that.
yeah.
So I mean, is it the fit position wise too?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you move Tavares, it's potentially there.
Yeah, it is definitely. Well, I don't know, like, what could they even go for if they did trade Tavares? But they're talking, like, they were also mentioning placing Tavares on the wing and adding more tenacity to their top 6. The person that comes to mind when I hear tenacity is JT Miller on the Canucks.
Yeah, but Jesus, isn't he making 8?
He's making, I believe he's making 7 or 8, but he's a UFA next season. Not this season, coming next season.
Well, after the season he had, he's not signed for 4.
No, definitely not.
No.
Definitely not.
And at that point, would he be a rental
Yeah.
for basically a year?
Mm.
And is he going to be that guy to get you
Mm-hmm.
over the hump?
Who knows? It's an interesting conversation we can kind of have.
Yeah.
You know,
So before we move on, what was your thoughts on the penalty call in Game 7?
I thought it was fair.
I think it was a fair call, but like, I was half surprised that interference call was made in a playoff series in a Game 7.
Yeah.
If anything,
I felt that
usually they let stuff like that go.
the time and place
Yeah.
was tough, but it was a penalty.
It was
Any
straight up.
any
yeah.
regular season game ever, that's a penalty,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but the fact that he was on his tail, Tavares wouldn't have got loose in the slot for a wide open wrist.
It was a
Really
straight up
straight all
basketball
over.
pick.
That's
I mean,
it.
again, we said it in basketball. Well, basketball's legal, but basketball, to an extent, football, you do that. It's a penalty. Like,
Exactly.
in any other sport besides basketball, you can't set a pick that way. It's blatant interference. And I think I didn't see it personally, but like, when did the referee's hand go up too? Because like it seemed like they scored and then they went over to center ice. But I've read comments on Facebook and stuff too that like the hand was up, but the place was so loud because they scored.
He just
that
skated right from that
they
last
couldn't
center
hear
ice,
the whistle, so I didn't see it personally, but I'd like to know, like, was the hand up and they called it and just the play went on. He scored instantly as soon as he came off the pick. Place is going bananas. So
as soon as the puck went in, the ref went
straight to center ice. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So
all right, so we'll move on from Toronto, but that was probably one of the more entertaining series, I guess.
It was.
Definitely.
So who
we'll
do we
go
have there?
to Boston, Carolina.
Okay.
I had Boston in 7 here. Thought they could pull it out. They got Swayman back.
Yeah, I had the Canes in
late
7.
in the series. Just wasn't enough. Carolina just dominated.
Yeah, they had McAvoy out for a couple games. They had Lindholm out for 6 games, I believe. I think he only entered in Game 7.
Yeah, Marchand stepped up though.
He did. Yeah, he had 11 points in 7 games.
He had an awesome series.
Worth noting too, Carolina also lost a couple goalies. Anderson never played all series.
Ranta got hurt early, didn't he?
Ranta, yeah, imagine. Yeah. Corpse of Cam Ward. So Ranta was out. When did he come back? It was game 6 or 7. It was late.
Game 6 he came back, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so they had this guy, Kochetkov, play for a bit.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. But
he was solid.
Yeah.
He didn't blow you away, but again, you're kind of thrown into scenarios.
Yeah.
It's like the main thing, right?
Well, yeah, we'll get that. I mean, he was great, right?
Yeah,
I mean, Carolina's, they don't really have a superstar per se, where you're like, okay, that's your offense, but like they're big guys, Aho, Niederreiter, like they all played well.
Yeah, and one thing I find Carolina does, they lock down the middle of the ice, and their D is exceptional at like breaking up pucks at their blue line. Like Jacob Slavin, probably one of the best defensemen in the league at doing that, honestly.
Tony DeAngelo.
And they also get offense from those guys too.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're really balanced. Like Trocheck and Jarvis, a couple of those guys, I really liked how they
they've been
played.
stepping up. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like seeing them now. I worry about Carolina because they seem to have the same look every year.
Yeah.
They look solid. They're always in Game 7s, and they're always competing. They're always going to be, like, I can't ever see them getting blown out or anything like that.
No.
But
it's just a solid
did they have the team to get over the hump? I had them in 5 here because I was confident that they really had a team that could make a run. I'm less confident now with the way they played now. Again, going back, they dominated Boston on paper this playoff or during the regular season. So I gave them the benefit of the doubt that they would carry that over to the playoffs, and they really never. Not to say that'll carry over to the second round or anything, but it is interesting to see that they probably were the better team on paper, and they just didn't really execute. They are on the better side of the bracket, I guess, in terms of the team that they're playing going forward. But I don't know. I don't know if this is their year that they're really going to make that deep run. But I mean, they're running out of chances too when it comes. Like, they've always been competitive. I mean, you look back in their history. Like, they made the finals in 2002. They won it in 2006. I mean, they made the East Finals. I don't know how many times.
I think they made the East Finals. Was it 2 or 3 years ago? It was against.
It was a few years back. I'm pretty sure they played in East Finals in 2009 when Pittsburgh won. Like, they've always been competitive, and made deep playoff runs. But they seem like they don't always get over the top. And I don't know. It seems like another one of those years, unfortunately.
But hey, I mean, they could have a new Mr. Game 7 in Max Domi.
Yeah.
Man,
could be the guy to take him over the hump in those Game 7s or Game 6s.
When I was watching that game, every single time he was on the ice, and every time he touched the puck, it was danger.
Yeah.
Like, you had to be on high alert, man. And that one-timer from the slot was just a beautiful shot.
It was, yeah.
Just like, quick pass, boom, hammering it in, man.
Again, not the first player you think of when you think, okay, this guy's going to take over Game 7. And Nick Paul, too, we didn't talk about in the Toronto series. Just like these underrated players who show up in big-time games.
Yeah, that was kind of an underrated pickup by them.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Max Domi, he was pretty good in Montreal.
Yeah.
And then he went on to Arizona?
No, he went to Columbus. They traded him for Josh Anderson.
Right.
But when he went back to Columbus, had a rough go of it.
Yeah.
Carolina made a push for him, and he didn't really make that much of an impact for their team in the regular season. But
Just give us one game, bud.
yeah,
Play on the third line, give us one game.
And sometimes that's all it takes, and it's in the biggest moments, right? So I mean, that's when. Now this was, I think, the only series that every home team won.
Yeah.
So I mean, they got to play well on the road going forward to have
definitely.
any shot at making a real deep run here. But
especially going into the Garden, you always got to steal games there.
Into the jungle.
Yeah. Well,
as Crowder was saying.
Yeah.
I think they do still have home ice though going forward, right? In this next one.
They should.
I believe they were the higher
the
seed.
Canes were the higher seed.
Yeah.
Weren't they?
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought so. So I mean, goaltending's still a question, I guess, because Ranta technically is the backup. Is there any note on Anderson on whether or not
he was supposed to return game 1 or 2, same as Saros, but didn't even enter the series. So I have no idea.
That's interesting.
Hockey's
going forward.
just too vague.
Mm.
So he could.
So there's definitely
series,
potential he can though. So they might get like that added boost going forward. Who knows when? But at that point, do you make the move?
Yeah.
If Ranta's playing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ranta is a great goalie. Like
he is. Yeah. And that's saying he's a backup is it's not fully accurate.
I was looking at a stat before the season, like, because a lot of people were saying that Carolina did terrible in the offseason, like getting the goaltenders that they did while losing James Reimer and Mrazek, but they picked up Anderson and Ranta, which were exceptional all year for him. And I believe at a minimum of 200 starts in his career, Antti Ranta has like a .918 save percentage. That was before the season started.
Right on.
And he was much so around that as well. And in this postseason, he's definitely over 900 save percentage. Definitely.
I think it helps they've had consistent offense too, so the goalie isn't expected to always do
and they had really
Not
good
like
defense.
a
whole lot. He's not having to stand on his head. He can just be again sharp,
He's sharp,
solid.
Bergstrom, you said earlier,
just don't cost us the game kind of thing. And the boys are they'll probably score 3 to 4 goals a game, and so I mean that's what I'm seeing out of them. We'll see. It should be an interesting matchup going forward. So we'll move on now to, I think it's their last one.
Yep, this is the last one. Pittsburgh and New York.
Again, this was probably one of my favorite ones to watch. I think throughout the whole first round. I mean, that first game went straight to triple overtime. So I mean that was a good indication about how that was going. So we got to and then again they were going in. I believe their first goalie was out going in, right?
Tristan Jarry was out.
Yes, okay. And then they had an injury.
DeSmith in game 1.
To shit is Max going in.
He was unreal
so he
in
didn't
that
get a
game,
chance
though.
to play, and then what was it? He was out eating tacos or something. And then,
no.
What was it?
Spicy pork and broccoli.
And they were just like, "Hey, you want to play in overtime?" He's like, "I guess."
Well, DeSmith, it seemed like he cramped up.
No,
And then he left, but it seemed like he cramped up.
That's what they're saying, like when he was going off.
It just seemed like the game was going too long. It was triple overtime. He didn't drink enough water or something. But it turns out it was lower body injury. Totally fucked.
I think it was like they were already into double overtime by the time he got hurt. So coming into that high pressure moment, obviously that's hard. And then I didn't think of that moment either, especially what they're saying he was cramping up that. He would have to play the rest of the series, but I mean that game was wild. Shesterkin set a record, 79 saves, 83 shots faced, both franchise records.
Yeah,
crazy. Shattered them. I think the record was like 60 some odd. So, I mean they shattered that.
Wasn't it second to the actual NHL record? It was Corpusali had 84 saves in that 4 overtime game against Tampa Bay a couple years ago.
Crazy.
That was unreal.
And this series was so weird. Like Shesterkin, 79 saves, crazy.
Yeah.
Then he gets yanked in back-to-back games.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh just shits on him.
There was a point, I think it was games 5 and 6, which ironically enough the Rangers were down 3-1 at that point, and both 5 and 6 they were down 2-0, and it was to the point where I was watching, I was like, man, Shesterkin is he a fraud? Like I was actually thinking his goals against average was 4.
Yeah, that was
crazy.
Brutal.
It's just like not even close.
Yeah. Another thing though, Pittsburgh got a lot of tips. Like they were getting bodies in front, and they were creating
havoc.
That was most of their goals.
Well, that overtime game, that was a tip.
Malkin,
right. I mean, he looked like a brick wall in that game, and that's what it took.
And there were a lot of screens too. Like the game where Rodriguez, when he had 2 goals and
He
1
had a couple,
assist.
yeah.
I believe the first goal he had when he shot far side, I believe there was a defenseman in front of him, and I don't know if it was Malkin or Brian Boyle that was in front of him.
And like he had one too that like went off the boards and came back, so
Yeah.
he was probably like, "What's going on?" and then come back and so.
And then he also had bodies in front of him. And he had like, wait, where's the puck?
Yeah,
And he
I
just
will
shot far
say,
side.
not having Crosby for Game 5 and 6,
and that was
That
the
was
turning point.
absolutely brutal.
Yeah, that's what made Pittsburgh lose the series, I think.
Yeah.
Because,
TSN
like,
turning point.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
TSN turning point because you
Yeah.
take Crosby out, it takes their whole power play out of sync because when you have like
He's quarterback.
he is a quarterback, yeah, everything goes through him on that power play, and even on their penalty kill, him and Gensel is their first unit. Like, if you don't have that, him winning draws and getting a quick chip over to Gensel to clear it out, that hurts you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I got to give a shout out to the Rangers for like their resilient play in terms of being down and coming back. Again, Game 5 and Game 6.
Yeah.
Again, Pittsburgh was in that position where they're Game 6, they're going home with a clinching game. You're up 2-0. I mean, the Barons going crazy.
Yeah.
Obviously there's only so much you could take before you wilt under that pressure, and they kept fighting, they kept playing. Their bigger guys stepped up in that game.
Yeah.
Kreider and
Zib.
Zib, they both scored
And Aaron, too.
Yeah.
two.
Panarin scored a game winner, yeah. That was
Yeah,
unreal.
so Kreider got the he broke the tie in Game 6 with a minute and a half left.
Yeah.
So that game looked like it was going to overtime, and then boom, next thing you're going back to MSG for Game 7, and then I want to give a shout out to Miller who had a goal, and he also drew the penalty.
Yeah.
In overtime, of course, that's a big call to make in overtime again. Game 7 in overtime.
Had to take the penalty.
Yeah.
Had
He
to.
did,
I mean,
yeah.
I almost thought it was going to be a penalty shot at first, and I was like,
Yeah.
saying, you can't call
Yeah.
that, right?
Well, like he
that's-
wasn't clearly gone because like
No.
their feet were kind of caught up.
Well, he
there,
was
and
right
it
on
just-
him.
Yeah.
He's wrapped around.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so that was, I don't know, it would have been interesting to see if like Pittsburgh gained some momentum if they had killed that off, because it was close to the end of the power play when they
Yes.
got it.
Yeah. Another thing as well, really got to give credit to Louis Domingue for stepping in and doing what he did. Like, he played unreal
Played his
for a
ass
third
off.
string goalie.
Yep.
Like,
And going back, like I believe he was a starter for Arizona at one point. I don't know.
Yeah.
There
I don't
was
know
a
how long that was
situation
for,
that
yeah.
caused him to step in there too. But
I think Kemper was hurt at the time.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was some circumstance to that, but I mean, it's not like he was plucked from obscurity and he's just this random guy no one's ever heard of. So
Yeah.
it says something that teams have even a third goalie that has some quality experience, and I mean, obviously a very nice run for him.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, so that wraps up our first round. So let's quickly do a little recap on what our predictions was and what the series outcome was. So going back to where we started, I had Calgary over Dallas in 7, and that's how that one went. How did you guys have that one?
Calgary in 6.
I had Flames in 6 as well.
Okay. I think we went with Edmonton next. I had Edmonton in 5, and I went 7.
I had 5 as well.
Yeah, I had 6. Ended up being 7.
I had Colorado over Nashville in 6. That's probably my worst pick, honestly.
I had him in 5.
Yeah, I had it at 5 as well.
I don't think I picked any sweeps. I never. Then I had St. Louis in 7. They did it in 6.
Minnesota in 7.
I had the Blues in 7.
Okay, yeah. And then we had who did we start with
Florida.
in the Florida? Yeah, I had Florida over Washington in 6.
Yeah,
I had
me
5.
too. I had 6 as well.
And then we had Tampa Bay over Toronto in 7. So I got that one as well.
I had 6.
I had the Leafs in 7.
Max had Leafs to the finals. Remember,
Yeah.
one game away. Glutton
Yeah.
for punishment, as we said.
Yeah.
I had Carolina over Boston in 5.
Boston in 7.
I had the Canes in 7.
Yeah, and that one also went 7. And then I had Rangers over Pittsburgh in 6, and I went the extra game in 7 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had
Same.
Pittsburgh in 7.
I had Rangers in 6.
All right, so pretty good. So we'll go into the second round matchups now.
I do want to say one thing first, though.
Yeah, sure.
Toronto was the only team with home advantage to lose, which is rough.
Oh, I never
It
noticed
is.
that. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
By one at home. Like,
Oh
Like,
my
that's
God.
that's the biggest reason I had them winning this series is because they had the home ice advantage, and that's something they haven't had in these first round playoff runs.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all had it close.
Yeah.
I think we all had
Yeah, you knew that
6 or
series was going to be a
somewhere in that
dogfight, yeah.
range. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was going to be a battle either way, and obviously you think to get over the hump at home, like it would have been such a nice moment too to do it at
Oh,
home.
yeah.
Obviously, I know a lot of fans were just so scared that they wanted it in 6. They're like, I don't care if they wins it on the freaking moon. Like,
anywhere, just do it.
Just go anywhere and win, right? All right, so that's it. So we'll move on now to our second round. I don't have a whole lot of analysis and notes when it comes into this because we did this pretty quickly before we got on. So we'll start in the West again. We'll start with the Battle of Alberta, Calgary and Edmonton.
This series is gonna be sick.
This is gonna be.
I think it might be one.
There's gonna be a lot of fights in this series.
Fun ones to watch.
Yeah.
They hate each other.
Yeah.
Hates each other.
Yeah. Could even be a line brawl, man. The goalies hate each other too.
I think this goes into the format too. I think this is a big reason why they kind of do it this way. So you get those division matchups. So there's like familiarity amongst teams that are playing in the first or second round.
Build
so,
rivalry.
Yeah. So there is. I mean, with Toronto, Montreal last year, for example, it feels like there's a bit more intensity with the Canadian matchups. But it's like if the Islanders playing the Rangers or something along those lines. I'm sure there'd be a bit more in that too. But so we'll kick it off with that one, Calgary and Edmonton. I think this one's going to be pretty close. I'll take Calgary in 7, but like I said, I don't feel confident about these. I mean, I feel like you could flip a coin on this one. Like Calgary's the favorite. They're the higher seed going in. They have more points. They got home ice, so I'll lean them. Like Max said, if it goes to Game 7, they'll be at home. I'll take them for that reason. I think they look shaky at best against Dallas. They got to score more goals. There was not enough goals scored. They really got to get more from depth. Like Mangiapane, he only had 1 goal, I think, those. They had a couple guys who had 30 goals during the season that just didn't show up a whole lot.
Lindholm didn't do anything.
No, I believe he only had 1 or 2 as well. Yeah. They really got to get more scoring. And of course, Edmonton can score with their top line. So I mean, they're gonna have to go with him. Smith has played well. He's got to keep that up too. I mean, it's got to be close. I'll give Markstrom an edge in terms of goaltending. I think, like I said, either team has the ability to score. Special teams, probably going to be a factor. Edmonton has lethal power play. Calgary can when it's clicking. Could come down to a game in overtime. It could be a key power play at a moment. I think this one could be so close. It could be a 1-goal game in Game 7 too. So I'll take Flames in 7, but it's a close one.
I got Flames in 6, just because Edmonton is nowhere close to the defensive team Dallas was.
No.
And I don't think Mike Smith can do what Ottinger did. I don't think there's a possibility of that happening.
No.
Mike Smith can keep you in a game where you're giving up 28 shots, 28 to 30 shots. But when you're getting 50 shots at a Calgary,
such a high pace,
it's just, totally outrageous. So I think it's going to be a solid series. I think I'll give McDavid 2 games. He maybe gets a couple multi-point games in this, but Calgary's a great defensive team too. So Calgary in 6.
Yeah, I have the Flames in 6, mainly because, I don't think Draisaitl and McDavid are going to be enough. And also, Draisaitl got hurt in the last, I think it was Game 6, played Game 7 injured.
He did, yeah.
So I don't think that's going to fare too well in this series. Flames defense has an insane edge on the Oilers. Goaltending, Markstrom he's definitely going to keep him in the game because they're not going to allow many shots. Like Mike Smith, if he allows 28 shots, you're probably going to win the game. And if Calgary is obliterating the Edmonton weak defense like they have been all year, they're going to do it in 6, maybe 5. Could even see a sweep, I think. I just think they're going to dominate. I think they're going to dominate this series.
Wow.
I really do.
Okay.
Last night, Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau were saying how this was the perfect first round matchup for them going against Dallas. Such an elite defensive team.
Yeah.
And you got Ottinger getting 50, 60 saves, and you guys are peppering them. You just don't quit on your game. You keep it up, and you guys are going to win the game.
Same with Edmonton, though.
Yeah.
They had a battle with LA.
They did,
which is great.
Yeah, well, and that's why I feel it'll be close. I feel like they both almost looked identical.
Same. I feel like it was the exact same.
Yeah. I feel like it was more of a letdown on the Calgary side because I think they had higher expectations. Although I picked Edmonton in less games. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it depends how you...
I just think Ottinger's elite play in that series was a huge play in that.
I think that was mostly you underrating the Kings. Opposed
it
to
was more... Yes.
Yeah.
And that's fair. And I gave Dallas credit against Calgary, too. I thought Dallas was scrappy. They made a couple solid runs past couple years.
Yeah.
Again, with that experience factor that you guys picked a couple in the first round series. I thought they would give Calgary fits, and they definitely did. I think, too, not only do I give Calgary the edge in the goaltending, but as John said, their defense too. If Mike Smith can't withstand 50 shots, Edmonton also don't have the defense either to stop. I mean, he could be facing 60 shots. You know what I mean? Like, if they keep the pace up, you know, it definitely. So I can see where you're coming from, Max. You got me doubting my own pick here now, but I could definitely see where you're coming from with Calgary there.
So let's go on to Colorado and St. Louis.
I defer this series.
I'm gonna go Colorado.
Don't do it.
In 6.
Okay.
I'm gonna go in 6 as well because, you know, St. Louis played a great series.
They did.
You know,
they did.
They played much better than I thought they would. I mean, I had the first one going 7. So
yeah. So I mean, my point earlier was they took away Kaprizov.
Yeah.
Right, who was the main driver of everything. But you got 4 or 5 Kaprizovs on Colorado.
Yeah.
You got Kadri, Makar, Rantanen, McKinnon, Landeskog. It's just too much.
Well,
then Devon Taves in the back end.
Yeah.
It's like, and then Darcy Kemper, who is outstanding with that team. Like, when I look at, I just don't think that they're going to be able to withstand the onslaught of Colorado's offense. You know, looking at the best players in the series, I might say Colorado has the best 4 players.
Maybe even
best
top 5, yeah.
Including Kadri. Like, is Kadri better than Ryan O'Reilly or Tarasenko?
Yeah. Well, it's because, like, I think St. Louis is more of a well-balanced. Not the Colorado's not. They have so many that they're still balanced even though they're top-heavy.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Yeah, they managed to be top-heavy and balanced at the same time.
Yeah.
How the hell do you top that?
Their third line, their bottom 6, is young. And speed and effort.
Yeah.
It's like, goes perfectly well with the skill and talent-based top 6 that they have.
It's almost like a stylistic clash because going back to what I said about St. Louis earlier, like they want to wear you down, and Colorado almost gets out of their zone so fast that you can't establish the forecheck and cycle.
Yeah,
because you can't even get there. They're set up, quick pass, they're out of there. You can't even establish St. Louis's play. So I that part worries me too that they didn't get in. That was part of the issue last year as well.
Yeah.
What the Blues are going to have to do there is try and work to do what the Kane style of play is, then lock in the neutral zone rather than establishing forecheck in their own end. Like, but it's going to be so hard to do because Kel McCarr and Devon Taves are probably 2 of the best puck-moving defensemen in the league right now, and they're both on the same team. It's
I can go out on a limb and say that if Cale McCarr was playing forward, he'd be one of the top 15 forwards in the league.
Yeah, I agree.
He'd probably lead the league in well, maybe not lead the league, but he'd be up there.
He'd probably be top 5 or 6 in points.
Yeah, definitely.
I wouldn't be surprised with that.
I mean, he borderline is now.
Yeah. What do you have? 85?
Something like that.
You know, he's in that conversation for.
But didn't he miss a few games or no? I think he played 70 something.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever it was, he was outstanding.
I think there's 2 ways St. Louis can win this series, and they're both going out on a crazy limb. One, Bennington just gets crazy hot and just plays literally the best hockey he's ever played in his life.
Yeah.
Or number 2, they keep it up with the special teams and they win that special teams battle.
Yeah.
It's hard to say I can see either one of those things happening just because like St. Louis really does live or die on their power play and their penalty kill. So if Colorado can even match it and it's even, they're going to be outplayed 5-on-5. So I think they really have to severely win the special teams battle.
Their penalty kill has to be elite.
Yeah, because like they
got to limit the penalties as well.
I will say they're faster this year than what they were last year.
What, the Blues? Or?
Yeah. So like I think last year they were outmatched with the speed, as John said. Like come through the neutral zone, they just can't. Like now, Thomas is a bit better. Kyrie's a superstar.
Yeah, Tarasenko is become a lot better this year as well.
He's not always a guy who likes to play defense either.
No, he's not.
He's like Ovechkin.
Yeah. O'Reilly's one of the best defensive players, defensive forwards in the whole league. He's Bergeron-esque.
He has 8 points in the first round as well.
And he's scoring. That was one thing. They had 8 or 9 20 goal scores, and he barely got it. I think he had 20.
Yeah.
Or he just missed it even. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
He either just made it or
year.
he just missed it. So he didn't have a great year point wise. So I mean, if he's playing well, that's definitely a good sign.
Yeah.
Their D has got to score.
They do,
Parayko.
Nick Leddy even.
Leddy had a key goal there in Game 6. I mean, losing Krug obviously sucks. He was the quarterback on the power play, but they were playing. I can't remember. It was a young kid they had quarterback in the power play in Game 6, and he was playing phenomenal. I can't remember his name.
Mikula.
Mikula, and I think he might even be on the top pairing now. Falk too.
Yeah, he's with Parayko or Falk.
Falk can score goals. That's definitely what it has to be. I do have the Avs in 6 though to make my pick. I think I'm with the bias. I think I'm being generous. I think it could be even 5. I'd like it to get that far. Kind of give me something to bite on, a little bit of hope, and we'll see. If it makes it to Game 6, I'll be like, what, you win one game, anything could happen. So it's at least respectable. I think if it gets to this point, so that's my hope. It's hard to see almost any team competing with Colorado at this point on paper. I mean, they just, like I said, they beat you every which way. Special teams, like I said, it's
their power plays.
But their
power plays solely.
One issue is I feel like each of the last 2 to 3 years, everybody said the same thing about this team.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that they're so down.
They are
so
allergic
talented.
to winning the second round.
Yeah,
It's 3 years in a row they lost in the second round, I believe.
That's part of the reason I'm giving them 6.
Yeah. So they and I feel like the rust too of like them sweeping
being
all
off
the time. They're being off, and obviously they were so far ahead in the West period that they were like clinched to play a wildcard team like 3 weeks left. So they really haven't been playing like a playoff style. Okay, we need to win a game in probably 2 months.
Yeah.
So like if a series is 2-2 or something like that, like they might feel pressure they haven't felt in a while. So. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes, but just a side note to Kemper, he had the eye issue with what was happening. He seems good to go.
Yeah.
Seems like they said the swelling or whatever was happening has gone down, and he's focusing on St. Louis, so it looks like he'll play.
Yeah, I was gonna go with the Avs in this, but the more I look at it on paper, I think I'm gonna go with the Blues in 7. They're gonna steal one on the road.
Oh,
I think they're all gonna win their games at home at first. I think Game 7 is just going to be a burn and turn matchup. It's going to be a low scoring game. I feel like St. Louis is going to grind it out, and their forecheck is going to be relentless.
And if that style game's grit.
Yeah,
that's how they would have to win. Yeah. And if they are able to slow the guys down and do the cycle and wear them down, maybe the speed won't be as effective later on.
And I feel like
if that happens.
And I feel like Binnington. I feel like he's back. I think he's got a swagger back.
He is that style goalie where like he's not always good, and then like in the playoff he finds another level.
Yeah,
I know
he does. Yeah.
It was really just the 1 year that happened, so it's hard to say it's consistent. But
the word I find describes it: swagger. That's how he plays.
He's so confident. Like nothing rattles that guy. Nothing. Like I seen the quote that the coach came up to him and he was like, "You're starting Game 4," and he was like, "Okay." It was just like okay, just like. Couldn't care less. Not didn't smile. Nothing.
I'm ready regardless.
Okay. Like couldn't care less. Right. Like not phased whatsoever.
Wow. Yeah.
He's a different guy.
All right. So let's get into our East matchups here in the second round. We'll start with Florida and Tampa. Florida has home ice in this, I believe, don't they?
Yeah.
They do. Yeah.
So
they won the President's Trophy here.
They do. Yep.
My pick here, I'm going Tampa in 7. They'll take it in Florida. That experience is going to show. Florida just won their first series since '96.
Which puts Toronto at last now.
Yeah. I was saying that, since Florida had moved on the day prior to Game 7, that the Leafs could be the worst for just one day. And no. The misery continues.
At least one more year.
Yeah, at least one more.
Yeah.
So, I don't really have much to back this up at all. Just the inexperience on the Florida side and the experience on Tampa side.
Yeah.
7 games.
Yeah, I think the Bolts are going to do it in 6, actually. I feel like it's going to be an even split in Florida to start. Tampa is probably going to take the 2 at home and goes back to Florida. Florida's going to take it, and then Bolts are going to take it at home in 6, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, like with their third line, now that they're rolling, their championship team of old is back in play.
Of old, legit 2 Stanley Cups in a row.
Yeah. And like their defense, like the way they locked down Game 7 against the Leafs, like they blocked 26 shots.
Yeah.
And Vasilevsky, every shot was to the outside, and if you allow that to him, he's going to clean up everything.
Yeah.
And it makes it easy for him. That's what they've done in all those must-win games, like to close out the series.
And that's the thing about Florida too. They don't really have a goaltender. Not like that.
Well,
like Bobrovsky's pretty good.
Bobrovsky has potential to be like that, but he could let in 5 goals.
Seems
on
like he could be streaky too.
But that's the inconsistency, right?
Yeah.
Like in a great goaltender like Carey Price or Vasilevsky, it's like
consistency.
You're going to be great.
Yeah.
You are great.
Yeah.
Nobody's disputing it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have a bad game, the next one you're going to show up, possibly get a shutout, allow 1-2 goals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's your take, Shane?
Yeah, I got Tampa in 7 as well. I was just looking up the bracket from last year, and Tampa did play Florida last year in the first round. Same thing, Florida had home ice and Tampa 1-6. So just worth noting that I was like, man, I feel like these teams matched up sometime previously, and it was last year in the first round. So yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty similar, I guess. I mean, Tampa seems like it almost felt like the Leafs were like their biggest hurdle. They were gonna go down, and I was saying it was interesting if Toronto or Florida made it because they were the two teams that never won in almost 20 years. So it was one of those teams were going to go a bit further. So Florida's going to have a chance here. Home ice in Game 7 could be a factor. I don't know. It's hard to say. There's not much travel here. Obviously, I think Tampa probably has a bigger fan base than Florida, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
Because Tampa is in Florida. So yeah, that's it is a weird dynamic. Yeah, it'd be like the Calgary and Edmonton series, but Calgary was playing a team called Alberta.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make much sense, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, not a whole lot of travel there. Tampa obviously with a lot of travel going up to Toronto, so I mean, obviously it's a lot better traveling this time around. I mean, the roster is solid. Goaltending, I give them the edge. Defense, I give them a slight edge. The depth is insane. Florida has good depth too. I mean, Ken, Verhaeghe, and those guys that are lower down, they got to keep going. They almost are probably depending on them now at this point. Going into this series, I would have felt a little bit better against Toronto, but yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be real close. I think again, goaltending is key for Florida. Special teams, they need to shut down Tampa as much as they can. Tampa's gonna score. I feel like Tampa almost never loses in overtime. For some reason or another, they always win in overtime. Like
they play that shutdown style, and then they.
I can't remember the last time I've seen them lose. So I mean, they got to try to create a gap.
But they can play any style.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You need your D to step up. Hedman has that offensive ability to fucking quarterback it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's also their last man back.
But then if you're up 2-1 in a game, he's sitting back on his own blue line. He's not. You know what I mean?
The only thing that makes me a little bit worried about Tampa now is, are they sitting on their laurels a little bit too, in the sense that they're not battle tested like we talked about. Like they haven't lost 2 games in a row. What happens if Florida's up 3-1 in this series? Can they come back?
Right.
They can, I'm sure, but they haven't really faced that adversity in the past 2 years and 2 full cup runs, which is crazy to think of now at this point. But yeah, I'll give Tampa a slight edge here. It's going to be super close. I can absolutely see Florida winning this series. Razor thin. But I was saying the Calgary one might be the funnest one to watch. This one's a very, very close second.
Yeah. I agree.
Looking forward to this one. I thought Florida had a chance last year. I think I may have even picked them last year in the first round. And so this is their second chance. I'm not trusting them this time around. I'll take Tampa.
All right, let's move on to our final matchup here. Carolina and New York. New York kind of showed me something here, although there were injuries on Pittsburgh's side of things. Yeah. Which definitely gave them a big edge. Carolina they're a great team. I mean, there's nothing else you can say about it. I haven't made a decision on this one yet, so I'm gonna pass it after you guys on this one.
Yep. So I'll start. I'll go Carolina in 6, and boy, I flip flop on this one. I think the biggest thing that went into my decision had a lot to do with what John was saying. Now this can go 2 ways. One, they played in the first round, they were down 3-1. Didn't play their best hockey. Or 2, they rattled off 3 straight wins against a great team. Do they carry this momentum to the second round? They're going on the road. Carolina 4-0 at home. If the Rangers even split, I feel like they got a good chance of moving on. But
they got the advantage,
if Carolina holds home ice, they got a good shot at really making this ugly. And then the Rangers, again, they never quit, though, against Pittsburgh. They were down a bunch of times. So it's going to be, like, they're scrappy. Both teams are, I think. Like, Carolina is mentally tough, too, to keep losing on the road and come back and not letting that affect them in
just ignore it.
In that next game. Yeah, they can just move on,
the next one.
Play their game. And most of the time, like, they would lose and then come back and win 5-1. Like, they really solid. They almost scored 5 goals every time on home ice. Very consistent team at home. They got home ice. I got them in 6, so they will win 1 on at MSG. And then I guess they win 3 at home, and then that's it there. So they'll close it out in 6. So this could be 2-2. they win at home in Game 5 and then close out in 6. So I'll take Carolina in 6. I like their depth is very consistent again, not a superstar power team, and the Rangers are very similar actually.
Yeah,
they're actually very similar. I'm also banking on Shesterkin not playing his best. I don't know. He really would have to rebound and come back.
Yeah.
I definitely give him the advantage in terms of goaltending, and we don't know either. Anderson could come back.
he can. Yeah.
Carolina's goaltending could be a bit of an X factor too.
Right.
Yeah, I actually had the Rangers in 7 in this one. I feel like both teams are going to win their games at home, and then it's going to come down to Game 7, and the Rangers are going to end up coming out on top. I feel like Shesterkin's going to have a great series and be the reason that the Rangers end up coming out on top. So I feel like when he needs to win, he goes out and plays a great friggin' game of hockey. Like, he made some insane saves last night against the Pens. Like, their pressure was relentless at some points, and he was just cool, calm, collected back there.
Yep.
All right, so for me, it didn't seem like the top guys really produced with Carolina. Now, they didn't seem. I don't know. No, I never watched every one of these games, and just
they didn't stand out as much. They did score, but it happened more so early on in the series than it did late.
Yeah.
So that might be it has been a while.
because Boston kind of took over there at the end, right?
Yeah. Even when they had those injuries, because McAvoy was out Game 5 and 6.
I'm gonna go New York in 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I think. Like you said, Shesterkin's going to be the difference here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like that
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't get pulled like he did against Pittsburgh.
Well, I mean, it's a bad look, obviously, if they were to lose his series in 5 or 6, and then, he was underperforming, I'll say, especially compared to what a strong season he had. So, he obviously is a big part of their team and a big part of why they are where they are. So, I mean, he's definitely got to, live up to expectation of this series. The playoffs ended today. It would look on him as a negative, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's definitely got to step up and prove his worth there.
I'm still waiting for him to verify his top 3 Hart Trophy, kind of where he stands there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting for that to be verified. He hasn't really shown me any proof of it other than Game 7, which was really close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Like, I don't he never stole a game.
No,
he
I
never
don't even
stole.
think he stole Game 7.
I think which is big because he has such a big opportunity where Carolina's been 4-0 at home. If he can steal one on the road, I think it'll go a long way for his confidence.
Yeah, agreed.
And then they're going home for 2. So if he could do that, they're looking pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, the thing what Shesterkin did in that series, like, he didn't steal the games. He kept them in those games, and then the Rangers were being resilient like they were all series, and they came back and won those scrappy games.
Yeah, it was their big time scores too.
Most
times
like Kreider,
stepped up.
Zibanejad, Fox. He had 10 points this
And
series.
you always see that on teams that make deep runs. They score at key moments and key
Yeah.
times and key players scores.
And their depth is doing pretty good as well. Like their third line of Kako, Hedel, and Lafreniere, they've been doing great. They've had a lot of ozone time in that series.
It's a really good third line.
Yeah, very good third line. They're all young too. Like
Yeah.
if you keep that line together, that's going to be
Yeah,
huge
it could be
in years to come.
Could be a big second line now, or first line even.
Mm-hmm.
5-6 years from now. All right, so that's everything we got now for our second round matchup. So we'll come back probably when these series are over. We'll see how they're going. I guess we said the same thing last time. We'll kind of see.
Yeah, I'd say
where
if
they're
they're
at.
tied 2-2 or something, then we'll come back.
I had 2-6 and 2-7, so I expect them to go reasonably deep this time
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
I think most of us had sevens or 6s. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll kind of see. Usually about 2 weeks. So we may be back next week. Could be back the week after. But is that everything you guys want to touch on now today before we get out of here?
I'm good.
Yeah. All right. So for Shane Stanley and John Hepso and Max Hunt, we'll catch you next time on the NHL Roundup podcast.
Ciao for now.
Yep. See you later, folks.
Peace out.